Sometimes you read the paper and watch the news, and it seems like there's more bad news than good in the world. But you know what? It's just not true.
I at least can hold on to something, that there's something, maybe it's small, but there's something that I'm doing to make a difference.
It's just a feeling that you have. If you can help people, you have to. There's no alternative.
Every child has potential that we just can't know. And so, to my mind, that's what we're doing. We are saving potential for the future.
Once we gathered around a fire. In that flickering light, we shared our fears and our dreams. In doing so, we began to feel we belonged. That emotion, belonging, is what community is made of. It is also the raw material out of which a college union is built. We take you now to the hearth around which the union at Davidson College in North Carolina is constructed. It's a small liberal arts school where students give meaning to the lessons they learn in classrooms by creating a community in which individuality and differences of opinion are honored, like instruments in an orchestra.
We are at Davidson College, a small liberal arts private school.
The college union is really the focus of life here. Somebody called it the big living room, and it really is that. This particular facility that you and I are in right now is kind of the result of a dream that was in place for 30, 40 years before it ever came into reality.
30 years ago, I walked into this building. It was an empty gym. It needed a purpose, and I needed a place for the union.
It's very Davidson to take a gym and transform it into one of the most innovative, well-used and beloved unions in the country.
I would come in and I would sit on the floor. Nobody else was around. We had a new gym. I would dream about cutting a hole in the middle to create some connection between the floors. Dreaming about it and seeing it happen were two different things. It took 15 years to make it actually come into being. This whole notion of community and building a sense of community is something that everybody doesn't quite see right off.
What we really tried to capture was a place where any student who walked in the door would feel at home.
So the question is, when you're building a small community, a small and very close-knit community where people disagree, for example, on the direction the United States should take.
And I think you're excited as I am. I'd like to present my class.
How do you structure a community so that members, people who live together side by side every day, can have conversations without ending up screaming at each other all the time?
And it's the center on our campus for conversation about important issues that confront our country, our world. That's the heartbeat of that for us right here.
To think about Davidson as a college with a distinctive culture, and a culture that somehow unites its members without producing cookie-cutter graduates, I think that's the trick.
Some issues maybe that have come from our methodology.
So take that and move it into a building where the expectation is that you respect differences and seek to understand differences, even if you don't agree.
That's one of the great things I think about Davidson. I mean, we're all a really tight community. So this year I'm on the Republicans E-Board, and our big focus has been on the election.
I'm the co-president of the Davidson College Democrats, and we've been really busy this semester. It's been awesome to be in a swing state where the convention was.
Our object here is peaceful coexistence, working towards mutual understanding, not victory in debate.
So when you have your friends, like right now, great friends, see them all the time, you don't want to belittle them or make them seem stupid. You know, it's all about being friendly, having fun debates, and even in our big debate where the Republicans and Democrats are actually supposed to yell at each other from across the balconies, we still have fun with it. You know, it's all about really being respectful and creating a great community environment.
Rahel, every time she speaks with Richard, she's not interested in changing Richard's mind. She's interested in understanding why Richard thinks what he does. And the same is true of Richard with Rahel. And through that quest for a kind of mutual understanding, I think respect is born.
There's a very stark contrast between the relationships we have with college Democrats and college Republicans here at Davidson and the entire national spectrum.
So our whole community is structured to create spaces and opportunities for those kinds of conversations inside of class and outside of class, as a model for what it means to live in a pluralistic democracy where people just are irreducibly different and have radically different views about what's right and wrong.
And that, I think, creates a better political process because you can empathize and understand the opinions more and grow your opinion as a person.
I feel like I've had my views challenged and sometimes strengthened, but I love the dialogues that we get to have together.
You get to kind of evolve, and even if that brings you closer to your, political opinion you already have, you get more nuanced about it and become more confident in it.
Yeah, I have to say that some of the people I admire most on this campus are some of the people I disagree with most on this campus, and I love that. And I love that we can engage in that way, and I wish the country could work the way we are right now. So I'm glad we have each other.
I first started thinking about this when I first got involved as a young professional in the union, and I would stay up late at night with C. Shaw Smith, who hired me to work in the old union.
C. Shaw Smith was such an integral part of ACUI, and I just want to tell you a wonderful story about him. So every time he was introduced at the past president's table, he always did a magic trick.
From the very beginning, ACUI has been a real fundamental of the whole union idea, the whole student activity program that we're responsible for at our school. You couldn't have done it without the association, because that's the place that you got the spark, that's the place you got the understanding, and that's the place you got the encouragement to do things that you never knew you could do.
He hired me for my first job in the union, and he took care of me as I learned what a union was all about.
Big people make big decisions and laws and that kind of thing, but the real quality of life is made in the neighborhood. That means over the fence, that means in the union, that means when we are together. That's what the real quality of life is. The other things, talk about it, but we live it.
I can see him in different places in the building. I can imagine him sitting by the fireplace. I can see him sitting at a table in the cafe. I can see him standing at the front door and directing traffic. There are so many places within the building that would really work for him.
Well, Big Daddy, as we call him, never, and that's from Cat on the Hot Tin Roof, of course, he never saw this. He would have loved this union and what William Brown has done, and the architecture here that brings things in and out. There's a flow here. You can be individualized, but at the same time, a part of the collective. That's a very important part of the union. But he never saw this side. But I've often thought that if he were to have seen it, he would have said, that's a nice memorial in a way, but don't you think the letters are just a little bit small? And then he'd give you a big wink with it. But I think that would be part of, I can see that happening.
I've always laughed a lot. We like each other. We've laughed a lot, and that's therapeutic and all that kind of thing. But another fundamental about it is that I don't know any group of people really that seem to have, I guess I ought to use the word I like to use, rejoice so much at other people's accomplishments. And I think that's the heart of it. I don't know what you put in the world for any better than to encourage people to be their best selves and be grateful for being alive together and all that kind of thing. And the union on our campus and the association bespeaks that in ways that you cannot buy. You just live with it and be grateful.
And right as he was ready to retire, he said, okay, now's the time. Davidson needs you.
And I've always been so honored that he wanted me to it's always been a real honor that he wanted me to take his job.
I think what he would be so pleased about is what the program, what takes place in this union. That it is a community center, and it's a community center for faculty, staff, alumni, guests, and students. And you can see that in the symphony that has community members with the students playing in the symphony.
Well, this is the Davidson College Symphony Orchestra, and we're composed mostly of students, but we have a few community members and some people that we hire in for concerts. But it's a really diverse group of students because most of the members are not music majors. So we've got majors in English, history, the sciences, pre-med folks, so it's a very diverse group of people with a wide variety of backgrounds who come together twice a week to rehearse, and then we put on usually 2 concerts every semester.
So the role of the orchestra is much like what the union is about, and that is there are many pieces and parts that come together to create one grand piece of music.
I think it's definitely a unified passion for music that inspires students to be coming to these rehearsals twice a week, and they're not for credit. So they get no credit for these rehearsals, for the performances, so it's purely out of the enjoyment of making music. And also just coming together as a community, because that's really what this orchestra is about. It's a community of these people who may come from very different backgrounds, but have this one thing in common, which is this passion for music. Well, this is a phenomenal space. Acoustically, the shell that we have, we can hear everything very easily on stage. There is not a bad seat in the house. In performances, any seat, you can hear everything on stage really well. One of the biggest bonuses to this hall is also the crew. They do amazing work behind the scenes, during our concerts, during our dress rehearsals. So we're really fortunate we have kind of the full package.
One of the things that's really important to us is to make solid connections with the academic side of the life of Davidson. And perhaps the best way that happens is in the theater.
William Brown and I started talking about the partnership of a theater in the union, and our being able to use that is one thing that could enhance both programs. I don't think either one of us could have foreseen how big a deal that has become.
A lot of technical directors in the academic world are attached to the theater department, which thus means I answer to an academic chair. I don't answer to an academic chair, and my boss, William Brown, allows me the autonomy to run the space the way I see fit, given a certain set of guidelines.
It reflects, I think, our entire relationship with the college union and their staff. Jim Nash, the technical director, is the boss of this place. We are one of his clients. But we use Jim as an important teaching resource in the practicum of what goes on.
Teaching stagecraft for a professional stagehand is, I think, the greatest gift that there is. I had always worked professionally backstage.
That the students are rubbing elbows with real professionals.
And when I came to Davidson College, the great part about the job was I came here thinking I would be just a stagehand, help open this beautiful facility. And then all of a sudden I found myself 6 months down the road in a teaching role.
Jim is a marvelous teacher. I think he's one of the best teachers on campus.
To teach and to mentor I don't have words to really explain it to you other than it's magic.
Good.
Happy 100th anniversary, ACUI. For the Visionaries, I'm Sam Waterston.
Visionaries is brought to you in partnership with Harvard Kennedy School's Ash Center for Democratic Governance and Innovation, and through the generosity of Frank and Barbara Manley, Tom Hormel, the Parker Family Foundation, Nebraska Tourism Commission, Rogers, Our Passion is Building, Advantage Fitness Products, PNC Bank, Grand Island Chamber of Commerce, and from the generous support of the following: